Yura, and welcome to Term 3, Week 4 of our Religious Education Prosper Pilgrimage. This week our character strength of focus is fairness, which across the school is at number 12. And while I think surprisingly for me, it's actually my number 24 character strength. This has caused me much reflection and I feel somewhat inadequate sharing on this topic. But like all the strength, no matter where they rank, I commit to trying to learn as much as possible as I can from this topic. The topic of fairness for Catholic Christians moves to concepts of justice and mercy, and it is this dialogue on these values that sees the great relationship between science and religion in order to benefit all. Research findings on the benefits of the strength of fairness found that fair-minded individuals are more likely to engage in positive, pro-social behaviours and less likely to engage in illegal and immoral behaviour. They tend to focus on whether their behaviour will have a direct negative impact on others. And also research found that fairness is enhanced by the ability to take the perspective of others. Come on, ref, that's not fair. It's a cry that can be heard on thousands of ovals, courts and running tracks from the lips of everyone from children and professional sports people. Sport has a love-hate relationship with justice and fairness. On the one hand, it can't function without it, but so much debate circles around the many unfair decisions and outcomes. Think about our obsession with different camera angles and slow-motion replays, whether it be the bunker in the NRL or DRS in cricket. Why is so much money invested in seeing an incident several times and from so many different angles? Because there is an innate human desire for justice. But think about how odd this is. Surely one of the great true things of human experience is that justice is rare and elusive. Even in sport, where the boundaries are controlled and with the benefit of modern technology, there is still so much unfairness. How much more so in life? Even with our best efforts, justice, more often than not, eludes those who seek it. Why are we then so obsessed with something that we rarely, if ever, experience, true justice? The scriptures are clear. As Genesis reveals to us, let us make humans in our own image. We are people who've been created out of love and given a human dignity. We have a sense that God has implanted a firm sense of His perfect law and justice in our consciences. Our longing for justice comes from a perfectly just God. This God will see justice perfectly done, and that's what the Judgment Day is seen to be about. All the angles will be replayed, all the actions assessed, the secrets exposed. Justice will be perfect and universal. This is both reassuring and frightening. And as you know, this term, our focus of generosity, is Oblate Mission Action term, where we look for ways to continue to be generous to some of the very poorest people on earth via the Oblate missions. The issues that surround poverty are perhaps among the greatest forms of unfairness and injustice in our world. Through no particular merit of ourselves, the vast majority of us live in relative peace and prosperity, yet a significant amount of people on the planet are experiencing less, much less than us. Would it surprise you to know that our bins at Iona eat better than most of the world's population? Does this surprise you, worry you, bore you, anger you, or move you to action? I thought in honour of the works of the Oblates that we are continuing to support through this era of COVID-19, I would try and offer it as an example of the way in which the Oblates try to actively address, challenge, and encourage initiatives against poverty, against unfairness and injustice, in order to promote an overwhelming love of God that is present in each of us. St. Eugene de Mazenod invites you to see the world through the eyes of Christ, God the Son. Because when you do, you will have a much greater chance to see the ways to promote fairness, justice and mercy. Whether that is in support of Aboriginal reconciliation, safety, poverty, loneliness, domestic violence, discrimination, intolerance, well-being initiatives that tackle depression, bullying. The list can keep going and going and going. Justice can be described as people getting what they deserve. And while we might immediately think of justice as getting a consequence for a mistake, it's equally true that we deserve fairness, compassion, and love. We believe that if justice is people getting what they deserve, then mercy is getting even more, and that this more ultimately comes from God. Our college prayer uses many of the Oblate and Catholic values and invites Jesus to fill our souls, to fire our hearts, to enlighten our minds, to teach me, to help me, to bring me, and to touch gently my life in order to be of service. We all have some desire for fairness and justice, whether it be through the marks we receive for an essay or in the way that consequences are given out for actions, and also for the way that sports are governed. This year, many in our community question the fairness of multiple tragedies, the major impact of COVID-19, uncertainty and increased vulnerability. For many, this can cause them to question God, while for others, these challenges are things that drive them towards belief and a closeness to God. I think that I've come to the conclusion that life is just not fair to all in the same way. Maybe that's why it's my number 24. And that a recognition of that can actually cause us despair or energy to work as hard as we can to address areas of need where we see it and tackle one issue at a time. I choose energy over despair. We also know that Jesus absolutely understands and experienced unfairness. We know that he was unjustly and unfairly murdered and executed on a cross for daring to offer people a new way of thinking and belief. Jesus, in the midst of this unfairness, still found time for a prayer for those who had done it to him. Fairness would not be Jesus' number 24. We support the Oblate missions in OMAT because of an overwhelming sense of connection, community, generosity and love with our fellow members of the Oblate family of the world. It's deeply appreciated and ultimately necessary. We are trying to be the presence of goodness and godness in our world, a world that's not fair, and share our resources with those in need. An experiment was held where two economists gave pairs of students an intriguing choice. By the flip of the coin, one member of the pair would earn the privilege of choosing either to receive $12 while their partner would receive nothing, or $14 where both people agreed in advance how they would split the larger sum. Have a think about which choice you might make. The economists found that fairness rather than self-interest prevailed. The students decided in advance that they would split the $14 evenly. They obviously believed that a flip of a coin was not a fair way of allocating unequal benefits. At the same time, this preference for fairness does much to affirm being a good neighbour and a citizen. The choice to be fair is also a choice not to allow self-interest to compromise our society. At number 24, I obviously struggle with fairness as defined by the VIA character strengths, but I do fundamentally believe that I'm loved by God and am called to try everything that I possibly can to promote the equal dignity of each person from the moment of their conception to their natural death. I guess I have much to learn, and I commit to that. So would you take all or nothing? Would you risk the flip of a coin, or would you share the amount of resources with others? The answer to that question might go a long way to working out where fairness ultimately reaches your heart. The challenge to you is to live so that when others think of fairness and integrity, they think of you. Kia kaha, be strong, and fight for justice. The world needs you to. Thank you.